Imagine this. You're going out on an expedition in space, and then all of a sudden, your spaceship gets hit by a meteor, and you slowly crash down on a planet that hasn't been explored by your kind at all, with ship parts to your ship flying everywhere on the planet. Well, that's exactly what Captain Olimar has to go through in the game Pikmin. He has 30 days to find 30 of his ship parts that have flown everywhere, or else he will die because of the poisonous oxygen on this planet. To make matters worse, this guy is not like a hero like Mario, and he doesn't have a sword like Link. How is he supposed to... Oh, was that an onion? After exploring a bit, Olimar finds this red onion that shoots as a seed, and once he plucks it out, a Pikmin pops out. By using these tiny little red creatures, he can form an army to protect him on this planet and get all of the ship parts he needs. So now, it's about creating an army with these little red guys. It's up to Olimar and his Pikmin getting all 30 ship parts back so Olimar can have a successful reunion with his family and see them again. This, in my opinion, makes me really invested in Olimar, and I really want to help him as much as I can and get him back home. Now, if you were to wander around enough in the second area, you'd find another onion, which has yellow Pikmin inside. Their specialty is being able to be thrown high and also carry bomb rocks. And if you were to explore even more in the third area, you'd also find a third onion which has blue Pikmin inside. These guys have the specialty of being able to go in water without drowning. Now Olimar has 3 types of Pikmin to conquer the world with. So by using these Pikmin, Olimar has 30 days to collect 30 ship parts, which means he has to at least get 1 ship part a day. It seems like this timer leads to a lot of people getting stressed and not finishing the game, which I get it. That's why Pikmin hasn't really had a timer recently in their games. However, in this game, it makes a lot of sense. This game is about time management, and so if you have 30 days, you have to spend your time wisely each day. However, that might still be a bit difficult because this game is really hard. There are so many enemies and hazards that will be able to kill your Pikmin there and then. However, all of that can be solved by just getting more Pikmin through the pellets and the enemies. And if you just kill all the enemies in the area, they won't respawn for a couple more days, so you'll be fine without them. Now real quick, let's go over the characters in this game. So how about we start with the Pikmin? Like I mentioned earlier, you start out with these red Pikmin. They have the ability to be stronger than other Pikmin, and they can also walk through fire. These are pretty simple guys, which makes sense for the first Pikmin. The second Pikmin you get, like I mentioned earlier, are the yellow Pikmin. Also, like I mentioned earlier, they can jump high and carry these bomb rocks. Finally, you get blue Pikmin. Also, like I mentioned earlier, they can walk through water, which is the only original thing about them. Which, yeah, makes sense. Most of the 4th area is literally just in water. Now, finally, we had the main guy himself, Olimar. He has 30 days to get 30 ship parts, like I've mentioned earlier, blah blah blah. And that's really all his character is. He just has to get his Pikmin to help him for 30 days. Which is what I would say if he didn't have dialogue at the very end of each day. Most of the time it's just going over what's happening around him or what's about to happen the next day. And sometimes it's just reporting on some of the discoveries he's made from Pikmin by just watching them. However, sometimes he could talk about his family and how much he misses them, which makes you really want to help him more. With all this knowledge that Olimar gives you, you realize that he's literally just a normal guy that ended up crashing on this planet. So doesn't it make you feel good when you've gotten every part in a certain area? I know it makes me feel good. So every character in Pikmin is great, but the characters aren't the best part of the game. What about the actual gameplay? Well, like I mentioned earlier, you're just making an army of these little Pikmin boys. And by making an army, you can use them to bring all the ship parts back to your ship by throwing them onto objects or enemies. Now try doing that while also remembering that there's an entire time limit on the day. I've briefly mentioned this before, but every day there's a time limit. They usually last around 13 to 18 minutes, so you gotta get all your work done super fast. This adds a sense of replayability every time you play it, trying to beat the game and get all 30 ship parts as fast as possible in a limited amount of days. Which, yeah, makes sense why this game is so much fun to replay. Now, the controls are simple when controlling your Pikmin. You have to throw them and also whistle them back, and that's basically it. Despite it being so simple, it's so engaging, and I really freaking love it. And since it's a time management game, you're going to want to multitask by bringing multiple Pikmins to other areas. So when you're getting a lot done in one day, it feels satisfying. And that's the reward of playing Pikmin. You get satisfaction. However, you also have to remember that your Pikmin can die to a multitude of things like the enemies or the fire hazards. So it's even more satisfying when you get through the game with barely any deaths. But then of course, if a Pikmin dies, it's really, really sad because of how cute they are. Every time a Pikmin died, it didn't really feel like it was my fault. I could have easily prevented it. So when a Pikmin doesn't die and I'm able to save them, again, it feels really satisfying. And that's probably why I love Pikmin so much. It's the satisfaction you get from doing as much as you can in one day and saving as many Pikmin as possible from the enemies. Trying to find new ways to get ship parts or getting ship parts in a different order is always so much fun when replaying. And now you should be able to see why this game is so much fun to replay too. Now I'm not going to say that this gameplay is perfect. There's a couple things wrong with it, like the Pikmin AI always finding the worst routes possible to take when carrying an item back to the ship, or Pikmin tripping being like the worst part of the game. However, the pros outweigh the cons when it comes to gameplay. Now the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to gameplay is the mature system when the Pikmin go through. Basically, Pikmin start out as leaf Pikmin. They're not as strong and also they're really slow. However, if they eat that yellow goop that just appeared on screen, then they'll become flower Pikmin, which are much stronger and faster. There's also in between, called the buds. At first, I wasn't really too sure what to think of this because I never really went out of my way to get this, which is probably what made the game so difficult for me. But once I did, it was kind of a piece of cake once I got everything into a flower Pikmin, so I'm just not too sure. But then I realized it's an option for you to do. You don't have to bring your Pikmin into flower Pikmin. You can make the game really difficult, or you can make the game really easy. And now that I've talked about everything gameplay-wise, it's time we move on to how the game looks. For a game that came out on the GameCube, it looks great for its time. Of course, games that came after it look a lot better, especially Pikmin 3. However, for its time, this looked absolutely incredible. The game is just beautiful to look at. Sure, there are a couple bad looking things like the space scenes, but other than that, this game is absolutely beautiful and I love how it looks. The characters look all cartoonish kind of and goofy like Olimar with the big nose. However, the developers easily could have made the world around Olimar and the Pikmin look as goofy as they are, but they decided to go for a more realistic vibe, which I really respect because it looks beautiful, like I mentioned 2 times already. So if you're looking for a pretty looking game, I probably wouldn't recommend Pikmin 1 because there's a lot of better looking Pikmin games out there, but if you want to start the Pikmin franchise, then I'd suggest this. When I first played Pikmin 1, I wasn't really expecting anything amazing. I was expecting a game that I'd play until the finish and probably wouldn't pick it up again. And I probably wouldn't even have gotten past the first world, which is what I was telling myself when I was turning on the game. But after I beat the impact site and got a couple parts in the Forest of Hope, I couldn't put the game down. I was really surprised by what I had missed forever. It was an awesome game, and even though I really sucked and it took me 29 days to finish this for the first time, I still enjoyed it all the way. By the time I was in the Forest Naval, I had already told myself that I was going to play and finish Pikmin 2 right after this because of how much I enjoyed this game. The amount of satisfaction I got from playing this game was enough to make me realize that Pikmin was a great franchise. Up until now, I just accepted the fact that Pikmin existed, and I never really wanted to play the game. I played the Pikmin Adventure in Nintendo Land sometimes, but not all the time. However, once I was done playing this game, I needed more Pikmin action. Just more and more. And even when I got the good ending, seeing Olimar get to go home and see his family and the Pikmin not understanding that Olimar's leaving, I still wasn't satisfied enough. I needed more. So when I turned on Pikmin 2 and realized it was almost the same game as Pikmin 1, I was really freaking happy. However, did it live up to the standards that Pikmin 1 had? That's a topic that's debated a lot in the Pikmin community, so I guess you'll have to find out when I make that Pikmin 2 video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all for another video. Bye.